Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. There seems to be some sort of train of thought among some comic book writers that because something is popular in one medium, that will automatically transcribe into quality in an entirely different medium. Take, for example, comic books and music. Sure, we've already chronicled the likes of Nightcat, discussed the popularity of Dazzler, and seen Batman inexplicably wage war against Sid Vicious. But there have been a ton of comics either about real-life musicians or fake ones that once again get me to scratch my head in bewilderment. As I've said, unless there is a real song that we can put those lyrics we're seeing on the pages to, it's just somebody's idea of a song that I'm sure sounds like the greatest song in the world to the writer, but leaves the comic reading public to have to say, why is this bad poetry littered around the text boxes? And yet comics about musicians, be they real or fictional, continue to be made, usually with even more ludicrous premises. So let's dig into the musical mercenaries, I'm not kidding here, of 22 Brides number 1.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a birdie hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazon and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
While I wouldn't say that this cover is bad, I can't exactly call it good either. It's not bland, since we do have colorful characters presented in a way that I'm sure is meant to be reflective of their personalities, but at the same time, it tells us nothing about the series or the issue we're about to read. Why are they called 22 Brides? Do these 8 undergo mitosis until there are 22 of them, and then they're all married off? And why the random drag queen is the 8th? To my dismay, I see that this comic was written by Fabian Nicieza, who also wrote NFL Super Pro number 1. And it's not because I thought NFL Super Pro was all that awful, especially when you compare it to, say, Maximum Clonage, but I honestly feel bad when a decent writer like him has his work on this show. I don't want to make fun of them, but on the other hand, well, crappy comic. Fortunately, however, that is offset by the fact that Joe Quesada, the guy responsible for Spider-Man's deal with the devil, is also involved in this book. So here's hoping for one more day jokes aplenty. We open to somebody's snot running down their face. Charming. What's actually happening is that a woman is aiming her gun at a guy, and despite the fact that the opening page established that the gun is 2 inches from his face, the 2-page spread that makes up the title page has it like 3 feet away, aimed at the back of his head. Also, there's a woman in a bellhop costume. The hell? Anyway, from what I can gather, there was some sort of deal that's gone sour, not that we're ever told that. Reading on, I'm assuming that this is explained in future issues. The real problem is that when we finally go to the real plot, there's not even an establishing caption that tells us like, 3 days ago, or something like that. Instead, it just feels like whatever happened on these opening pages is happening simultaneously with the next scene. Speaking of, we cut to the Slimelight nightclub, which looks suspiciously like St. John Divine Cathedral, a real place. All class, this comic. 3 women travel via elevator to the club. For some reason, their bodies are twisted in a way that their upper bodies are completely pushed forward by the curvature of their spine. Yeah, what's actually really awful is that this is pretty tame compared to some artists who draw women the same way. Where's the boss? Back there, to the left.
Back and to the left.
He looks kind of, well, not what I expected. Loser! Ladies, I can hear you from down here, you know. So the girls go down to meet this mob guy, who was the same guy as in the beginning, and wow, the mob standards have really slacked off if this guy is a mob boss. He's got a baseball cap with a huge ponytail behind him, a leather jacket and t-shirt, and he's spending his time in a nightclub painting some statue. Oh, and this guy is so out of his gourd that he asks to borrow their lipstick and just smashes the red lipstick into the statue. Oh, and it turns out the statue is of He-Man. I mean, seriously, the mob must have some lax standards these days. Tony Soprano would have capped this guy twice by now. So, what was the point of that meeting? No idea, since he then just shoos them away. The guy does mention, however, that he wants the red-headed one brought to him later. Now we get some meandering around the club. Hello, Silicon Valley! What did you think of Fonty? What do I think of painful rectal itch? Don't smoke, stunts your growth. That last one, by the way, is said while she limbos underneath another woman's cigarette tray. What the hell was the point of all of that? Was this some sort of cut-and-paste dialogue scene where we're supposed to make it all up ourselves? So we learn that the girls were talking to the mob guy named Fonty because they wanted to have their band play at that club. And as they walk home, the redhead named Libby is literally pulled into an alleyway with a hook, the kind you'd see in a theater trying to get rid of a bad stand-up act. Hey, it's as if the comic read my mind when I thought, these characters are terrible and their dialogue isn't funny. Actually, she was pulled into the alleyway by a group of bald thugs sent by Fonty to get Libby. By the way, this was one of the earlier works of artist Scott Lee, who in this comic seems to absolutely adore low-angle shots that make the women look like they're standing on stilts. Anyway, the thugs tell the two that Fonty wants Libby, but her friend suddenly pulls two guns. Wait, what? Where the hell did those guns come from? Her jeans are practically spray-painted on, and I've got to tell you, that top isn't hiding anything. Where was she keeping those guns? In her hair? So she shoots the guy holding Libby, to which he even cries out, "I've been shot here, boys!" No, you haven't! I can't see a spot on you that's been hit! Oh, but get a load of the physics here. Because he's been quote-unquote shot, he releases his hold on Libby, which allows her to suddenly contort her body enough to kick him in the crotch without facing him and with enough force to knock them all down. Wow, let me see if I can do that! My spine! Further help arrives in the form of the dart-tossing, April O'Neil's stripper cousin. Also, to assist in their getaway is a white limousine and a woman who can phase through the roof. Oh wait, it was a sunroof, not that we can tell in the first panel. The limo even has a few surprises of its own, like a part that opens up to reveal a crap ton of guns. Did they steal this thing from James Bond? How the hell did a bunch of rock musicians get this stuff? Fonty is informed of the girls' escape while he's at a urinal, but he refuses to wash his hands.
You gonna wash your hands? No, 'cause I'm evil.
Is there some sort of government program that lets hobos be mob bosses for a day? Who let this clown be in charge? Fonty's goons are told to hit up some information on the girls, and the person they get info from is, John Travolta during Saturday Night Fever? When he first refuses to tell them anything, they pull guns on him. Huh, I guess you won't be staying alive then. Fonty screwed with the wrong chicks. He got himself on the bad side of the brides. Would you say that the brides are more than a woman? Yeah, I'm a Bee Gees fan. Deal with it. We cut to the Stump Towers. Yes, this is what passes for wit in this comic. The girls arrive here and apparently have their own huge penthouse suite. And of course, since this comic has the maturity of a 12-year-old, they all strip naked so they can have a sauna. Because that's what girls do, you know? They wear skimpy attire that might as well have them be naked, and then they get back from their shopping, and they're giggling about boys, and they get naked and take showers with each other. Wow, a part of my brain died just from saying that. Following that unseen sauna, we get to see the women with nipples poking through their towels, which apparently operate like shrink wrap and conform to their bodies perfectly. So while they stand in the doorway clad only in towels, they're informed about how Fonty wanted Libby, which comes as a surprise to them, but I don't know why the bald thugs sent against them already said that. They decide to show him who he's dealing with by arming themselves. Who wants the Glock and who wants the Patriot missile? What rock band can afford high-tech equipment, a huge-ass penthouse suite, a limo with guns built into it, 2 butlers, as well as tons and tons of guns and missiles? Yeah, I know that they have this job as mercenaries or assassins or whatever, but how did they get the capital for that? And why even use the cover of a rock band? What's the point? We cut to some detective on the phone wearing a trench coat that apparently elevates her shoulders up.
Yeah, all great detectives do this. It really gets the mind flowing.
Anyway, the detective scene is pointless other than establishing that the 22 brides are considered a myth. Back to Fonte's club, the girls show up to have their concert. Fortunately, we're spared from reading any of the lyrics. Unfortunately, we're not spared from the narration. Bodies fly, sweat mingles with lust. Ew. Adrenaline slides through the air. Would you stop talking about bodily fluids for 2 seconds? Libby is confronted by Fonte, but he in turn is stopped by Libby's sister, who, by the way, has a different skin tone and hair color than her, so what the hell. But then they get stopped by Fonte's thugs with their own guns. But then those two get surrounded by the brides. Oh, but then all of them are surrounded by Fonte's thugs all around the area. This was in a hallway a second ago, and now we're in a big chamber. And where the hell was everybody hiding? Did they slip into another dimension for a second before popping out so they could have their ludicrous dramatic reveals? And so our comic ends with Fonte telling the 22 brides that if they agree to work for him, he'll help get Libby and her sister's mother out of jail. Frankly, I would have asked for surgery to help repair their horrifically long and implausible legs. This comic sucks! The artwork seems passable at times, but the artist had a serious fetish for low angles and long legs, the writing is cliched and nonsensical, and there's nothing about any of these characters that'd make us want to read more about them. Clearly, Quesada should have asked Mephisto to undo all of this. Wait a second. They're called brides. Mary Jane Watson was Peter Parker's bride. My God, one more day was just his attempt to get rid of 22 brides! I must tell the people! If it says Libby's on your label, you will like it on your table.